When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need: Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Hello everybody and welcome to tonight's coverage of the 4th season of the NASCAR Class C Maconi Fixed Series. This evening we're excited to bring you top split action for the weekly straight to field race for the virtual Pocono Raceway in Long Pond, Pennsylvania. Maconi Entertainment is here to bring you action from all types of racing, including the top split for this series, the eNASCAR Qualifying iRacing Series, as well as for Fast Fridays. No matter what you're racing, we can bring the action to life. My name's Justin Prince. Alongside me making their debut tonight here from Maconi Entertainment is Ron Mons. Christian Hill is working the controls as our producer. Ron, Pocono is called the Tricky Triangle for good reason. It's one of the most difficult tracks to race on iRacing. 3 incredibly unique corners that drivers need to master just to get to victory lane on top of that. With that in mind, what are your expectations for here tonight?
Well, my expectations are a little bit up in the air, I'll be honest, Justin. This is my first ever broadcast here with Maconi. Very happy to get things started over here, and I'll tell you what, this track, it's absolutely iconic in the world of racing, whether it be in the world of NASCAR, whether it be in the world of IndyCar. Pocono is always a challenge. We have 25 laps in front of us, some great racing action for sure, but there's also 3 corners, and for 3 corners on 25 laps, that's 75 chances for these drivers to run in some sort of trouble. So I think for all of these drivers here tonight, their main goal is just to try and keep it clean. So my expectations heading into this race, it's going to be a fun one, but it's also going to be a challenging one for the drivers on track tonight.
It's going to be an interesting one here from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway indeed. Here's a look at the racetrack once again and its descriptors tonight. Once again, 3 corners for this 2.5-mile circuit. And we're going to see how these drivers play things out. Mind you, on Monday when we broadcast the opening split, Ron, attrition was big. Attrition was big just in the 6:15 top split. It's expected to be difficult to be able to make your way forward cleanly here tonight.
It is going to be extremely tough for all of these drivers, and 3 corners, but 3 completely different corners, all designed after different corners in the world of motorsports. Turn number 1 here at Pocono, designed after the old Trenton Speedway in New Jersey, which has since gone the way of the Dodo Bird. Turn number 2, modeled after all the corners at Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and turn number 3, branded after Milwaukee. So you got 3 different corners on this racetrack with 3 entirely different challenges. I think out of all the tracks that we visited this season, including some of the road courses, Pocono may be the toughest for these drivers this season.
So the drivers are currently finishing up qualifying. They still have a few more moments before the end of the session before we advance to the race itself. A lot of notables enter tonight's race, including 2 eNASCAR drivers, Zach Novak and Malik Ray, are your 1 and 2 trucks in session, mind you, for tonight. And mind you, Malik Ray, 4th in the overall standings for the series coming into tonight. Looking to close up ground in the top split points to Diego Vieira, Jacob Snyder, and Caleb Johnson. Right now, Vieira leading with 957 points. Ray, for reference, has 878. Qualifying just about coming to a close here at Pocono. And what's expected to be an interesting one here on iRacing social media platforms and on Maconi Entertainment for tonight here from Pennsylvania. Qualifying has now come to a close for tonight. The drivers now getting ready to make their way to the starting grid for this evening's festivities. A grand total of 23 drivers are in this split tonight. Tonight's S.O.F. 4,142. On the pole tonight, it's a newcomer for these top split races on Wednesday nights, Jacob Busser. He'll start alongside Malik Ray. The pole time set by 2:10. Stuart Redmond starts 3rd. Jonathan Evans, a former series champion, in 4th. Zach Novak rounds out the top 5 tonight alongside Jay McLean. Then it's Dakota Lawn on the 2nd page with Cody Johnson. Gary Cronenwet starts 9th, and Caleb Johnson rounds out your top 10 run.
And then looking through the rest of the field, we're going to have Lee Olson in the number 19 Chevrolet. He's going to be starting this race in 11th. Ricky Small going to be starting this race in P number 12. Kyle Johnson in 13th. Jeffrey Maconi from Maconi himself starring in P14. The boss man looking to impress here tonight. Nick Rogers is going to be starting this race in P number 15. Calvin Ruff is going to be starting this race in 16th. Rodrigo Dominguez is going to be starting in 17th. Jacob Bauer is going to be starting in that number 4 truck in P number 18. And looking through the rest of the grid, we're going to have Julian Valadez in that number 9 truck starting this race in 19th. Cole Polkin in that number 10 truck in 20th. Then rounding at the rest of the field is going to be Caden Deirdrich in that number 11 truck, Josh Batista in that 15 truck, and finally rounding at your grid in P23, fittingly is a number 23 truck, that being Scott Sanders.
That's what Dr. Bond and Matt, you're running over here tonight from Pocono as the field gets in position to go racing here at the Tricky Triangle. As the drivers make their way onto the racetrack, it's time to get ready for your Maconi Setup Shop race analysis. Maconi Setup Shop, the official setup shop of eNASCAR. 25 laps your distance, 0 fast repairs, remember, in this series, with only 1 green-white checkered. Fixed setups as to be expected for tonight. As well, there are only 2 tire sets available in the pits tonight if necessary. So in other words, if we get strategy to come into play, we might see 2 tire calls that worked out on Monday in particular for your front runners to a point. Overall, Ron, what are your keys to win this race tonight and why?
Well, I think one of the keys is a point that you just brought up a few moments ago, and that is tire management. This track, as I've pointed out so far in this broadcast, is tough, and really, Pocono and tire management go together just like peanut butter and cyanide, really. There's no real mixing between those two that can end well. Pocono really tough on those tires, and even though this scan had the asphalt when it was somewhat newer in the real world at Pocono Raceway, it's still going to be tough for these drivers to try and keep their race trucks running about as well as they are at the start compared to the finish. So really, trying to avoid any sort of fall off is going to be huge. These drivers, of course, need to see that checkered flag, though. To finish first you have to finish. So if you want to try and avoid the chaos, you're probably going to be up towards the front, but you also have to have a good race truck underneath you to try and win this race.
It'll be a fun time. Again, glad to have you with us here on iRacing social media platforms and on Maconi Entertainment, the top split for the Maconi Fixed Series from iRacing's virtual Pocono Raceway. Jack Busser, I should say, in control. Malik Ray will start alongside for tonight's initial start. Looks like the pace car ready to take them off turn 3. Ready to get things going. The green flag's out. We're underway from Pocono. Already 3 wide of the heart of the field. Zach Novak on the bottom. Munsto's trying to make some moves down there. Everybody else 2 by 2. A clean start to begin things here.
Look at that 5 truck on the outside. That was a very bold move, trying to go around the outside through turn number 1, but it's worked out very well for him. That's Johnson making his way up to 4th and now battling for 3rd.
Caution flag is out back of the field. Several involved, including Villegas. You also have Kyle Johnson spun around. And the caution's out already for the first time. They didn't even make it to turn 2 this time.
I think you may have jinxed it there, Justin, because right as you were saying, we had a clean start. They have a small little wreck going down the back straightaway. I'm sure we'll be able to get a replay at some point to see exactly what happened to get all those trucks wrecked. Not even midway through lap number 1, but I think the commentators' jinx possibly striking here very early on in this 25-lap race.
Meatball flags are ready for Nick Rogers and Stuart Redmond from the contact. That brought us under yellow now, just like that. Malik Ray taking the lead before the caution. Here is why we're under caution. Starts down the middle of the straightaway.
Oh, I do not have a good feeling about this at all. Maybe some 3-wide action right behind us. Oh, boy.
That's the 16 getting turned around to the inside wall. Up the track goes the 14. 14, Kyle Johnson, right to the path of the 9. Villegas. All that was with Stuart Redmond having contact in front of it. Looked like a checkup effect.
Yeah, I was just going to say that there, Justin. It looked like some of these drivers were slowing down to try and avoid something that they thought was going to happen a little bit farther up the road. Here's another angle. Yeah, you can see drivers being and banging and roughing each other up, and that just causes the 16 to cut in front of the 14 and causes a major stack up right their way heading into turn number 2.
And rides the path to several as the rest of the field goes zoom by. Hard contact to the walls and to others. Debris under caution already. It's only in lap 2 for this race. So just like that, attrition coming into play in a big way. Malik Ray got the jump already to take over the race lead. Of note, 4 spots gained by that aggressive move from Kyle Johnson. Cody Johnson did the same to get up to 4th. This is likely going to be a possibility. Attrition can build here.
I think we've already seen the attrition build. That may just be the foundation. We'll just have to see if there's some more vertical building when it comes to that attrition tower that we're going to see throughout this race. 3 laps in now. We are under yellow for the first time. I have a sneaking suspicion, though, Justin, that is not going to be the last.
Especially when it comes to Pocono. So many chances in turn 1 to go for the dive. It's 3 wide no matter what in many cases here off the starts and restarts. That's with especially how wide that front straightaway is. You can go up to 6 wide down the front stretch if you wanted.
Now my mind is harkening back to, I think it was a 2015 IndyCar race here at Pocono. Of course, sadly marred in tragedy, but before then it was absolutely insane racing all throughout the day. And I think it was 7 wide going down the start-finish straightaway, which in IndyCars is terrifying. And here in these NASCAR trucks, I wouldn't rule out these drivers going for that. Maybe even coming to the checkered flag. I wouldn't say that we're going to have a 7 wide finish for the win on the final lap of the race, but I would not be too shocked if we see some 3 and 4 wide action really on every single straightaway that we have here at Pocono.
So, continue to pace the lawn as we prepare for the restart in about a lap and a quarter's time or so. Of note, Nick Rogers still yet to get the meatball flag fixed. Kyle Johnson getting as much damage fixed as possible in the pit lane. Stuart Redmond still getting damage fixed after the meatball waved off. Villegas got the least of the damage, already has fixed the truck. And remember, first time with this new aero package on one of the bigger tracks per se. We've seen how it worked out last time here on the platform when it came to racing on a road course here. It's barely unproven so far to say how these trucks are going to handle in about this draft. Remember, RTP tomorrow night is going to be a big one for several of these teams.
And that, I think, is probably the scariest thing in an iRacer's mind, an unknown quantity. That is going to be tough for all these drivers that should try and wrap their mind around the kind of quirks and features that you'd expect in a race like this. And I think they're going to get another taster of that yet again as the lights are out on the pace car.
Lights are out on the iRacing pace car. Malik Ray is your leader. Jonathan Evans in second. Busser, Cody Johnson, your top 4. McQueen, Caleb Johnson. That Lon Novak got shuffled back to 8th by being on the bottom in 1 and 2. Lee Olson in 9th, and Jeff Maconi is your top 10 currently. So far, attrition coming into play for several, but no official DNFs yet. Rogers appears to still be working on the damage at the very least. Your thoughts on what we expect to see this restart?
Well, I expect to see some more of the aggression that we saw on lap number 1, if not maybe cranking that up to 11. These drivers a bit more comfortable with the way their trucks are driving. We could see another outrageous move around the outside hang into turn number 1. I would not rule that out in the slightest. These drivers getting more into their comfort zones. We'll just have to wait and see how things shake out in this restart.
Yeah, we'll see how things really play out here in this one. We're about to find out pretty soon how these drivers are going to race things out here on the racetrack. So, Lee Ray, Jonathan Evans, your front row. Very quick restart box here at the racetrack. Comes in a 3 count. Already green for Blake Gray, off and away for the inside. Already single file for him, it's side by side behind.
That's a fantastic restart. I think he may be able to clear him on the outside hang into turn number 1. Yes, he will. That was a fantastic start, the restart, I should say, for that number 2 truck. He's going to be leading that pack heading through turn number 1 yet again.
Trouble. More trouble. Rough in the wall. Ricky Small involved. Lee Olson also collected in the heart of it. And we're under caution after contact with the 19 and the 4. Brings us under yellow.
Well, I can't say I'm too surprised, Justin. We were expecting some of these drivers to be a bit more aggressive heading into turn number 1 on this restart, and I guess that just got put on full display there.
And so far, we've turned about 2/3 of a green flag lap combined, but this doesn't at least collect meatball flags for drivers. Let's take a look what happened here once more.
That was the late stage of the incident. Oh, there you go. That was right before it. That's the number 21 truck stopped. That must have been a pretty sizable hit, though, and you saw the 19 truck involved in that as well. We haven't been able to see exactly what happened. Now we will. I have a feeling it may be some 3-wide racing going horribly, horribly wrong heading into turn number 1. Let's see.
Yeah, lots of contact there with the 4. Jack Brawler.
Ooh, contact with the 20 and the 21 that sent the 21 around, and that was a big hit on the 19.
Yeah, a lot of contact for the 20 and Small there on the outside wall. But in the end, no mandatory damage, but at the very least, we have had Nick Rogers return to the race 2 laps down. This will get him a lap back. Lee Olson got the brunt of all the damage by the end with the new damage model. Let's take a look again. It's on board with the 19.
Oh, the 4 truck pretty much comes out of nowhere on his outside. I think that goes back to the point I mentioned of aggressive racing heading through turn number 1. Oh, you can see that 21, the 21 truck getting pitched up into the air with the contact with the 19. I don't know about you, Justin. I've never seen a NASCAR truck get sent up into the air in a manner like that.
Yeah, a lot of contact. Once again, puts us under caution. Already coming around to lap 8 this upcoming time by attrition. So far, the name of the race, Rogers did elect to get the damage repaired again. So instead of getting the wave around the 2 down, he stays 3 laps down. So this is going to make it tricky in theory to plan things out, Ron. How do you plan things out when it's caution precaution?
Oh, that is a really good question, Justin. If I'm being honest, I don't really feel too qualified to try and answer it. I'm not good when it comes to race strategy. I think from my perspective as a driver, if it were me, I would probably just try and stay in my own lane, really. Make sure I don't have any cars on my inside or my outside. I feel like that may be the strategy if I were on the racetrack moving forward, just based off the fact we're 7 laps in. And as you said, when that second caution came out, we've only gotten 2/3 of a racing lap in so far. I feel like that would just be my strategy. Stay out of everyone's nonsense for now.
Very least, this is looking good if you're a Blake Ray fan. Continuing to get the lead lap so far here. That's good for the points as well in theory. Remember, he's in the championship hunt for this season, for this series so far. Based on how he's run in a lot of these top splits so far, he has been extremely competitive in regards to this. In fact, a couple different times it's gone to victory lane in top split.
And there we go. The lights are back off on that pace car, so I think we're going to get things back rolling. Justin, I'll ask you this here real quick before we finish off the rest of this pace lap. Do you think we're actually going to make it to turn 2 under green this time?
I think I have confidence. Do you have confidence?
I would say so, and I feel like I have to apologize because that was a very loaded question from my end, but I feel like I have confidence in these drivers. These drivers have realized, hey, we're coming up where this is lap 8. They're about to start lap number 9 once they get this race back underway, and these drivers are probably going to take it careful, but from my perspective, I mean, I raced in real life for about 10 years. I know as a racing driver, you're pretty much just trying to focus. You see the red mist a lot, and you see an opportunity to try and gain a spot, and you will go for it when you'll try and strike when these iron is hot. So I think maybe these drivers will be a bit more aggressive, but I have a hope in my mind that these drivers are going to see the chaos we've seen thus far and realize, hey, we just need to get a good flow of things going at this rate. Some drivers probably mired a little bit farther in the back after some bad luck on these restarts are probably very confident in the way their trucks are driving and just want to get a good flow of this race underway so they can try and make their way up through the field.
Let's find out how the flow of this race now plays out. Coming to lap 9. So far, the flow has been yellow. Well, Malik Ray's led a majority of the laps now as a result of these caution flags. In fact, has led 7 out of 7 complete. Let's find out how this restart plays out. Here in this one, already one driver lap down. Several trying to catch up to the field, including Olsen, Redmond, and Small in the backdrop. All of that's while Ray is in the restart zone. Green flag is out and back underway. A better launch for the outside, but Ray already single file. Offset 3 yet again. Make it near 4 wide.
Oh, these drivers are trying to make me out to look like a fool going 4 wide hang into turn number 1. I don't think so. One of these drivers is going to have to back out it, and it looks like it's going to be the number 5 truck deciding, nope, I want no parts of this. But there's still 3 wide, basically 3 by 2 coming off of turn number 1.
Ray trying to play with the draft a little bit. Already clear to second is Evans with all this shuffling. Looks like we will make it to turn 2. The confidence does last. All that's while the battle's on for third. Cody Johnson high side trying to pinch down Jack Busser.
And they're starting to single file out, but they are still going side by side. That battle for P3 is still heating up, heading through turn number 3 at speed for the very first time in this race. And all those drivers negotiating it clean so far. I'm looking to see if all the trucks get through that corner clean. Yes, they do. So we finally completed a lap under green. We're now 10 laps in, 15 left to go, and these drivers are still battling hard.
Especially with how difficult it's going to be to get track position. Whoa. Contact, too hard of a send by Busser. That's
what a save!
4 wide as everyone passes him.
That was a fantastic save from the 6 car. He has a clean, oh, more contact being made. Heading into turn number 2, these drivers are insane.
Oh, and now someone squished out. Jacob Brawler gets spun right into Maconi. Caution flag is out. And yet again, we're under yellow. And it's the second time the 4's been involved. Did he just come up and hit Redmond?
Oh, I think either way, Redmond just saw his life flash before his eyes. That was terrifyingly close with the 4 trying to get back onto the racing surface. I can't really be too shocked about that incident, though. Those drivers were just about wrecking for a solid, 15 seconds before the 4 went around. That was a whole lot of stuff going around in the span of just about 15 seconds.
Yeah, a lot of people getting pinched out there. There's the contact 3 wide, and then it gets ugly.
Oh, 3 wide into 3. I don't think so, boys. 4 in the middle, 8 on the inside, and then 22 sticking it on the outside. You can see 4 just gets squeezed out a little bit, drifting through the corner, and it ends in tears. A little bit of contact as well with the 5. You can see his bumper crumple in with the contact with the 5, and that that doomed him, essentially, spinning into the path of the truck on the inside, and sadly, the number 4 car didn't pick up too much damage, though, and I think we'll be able to see this very close call that he has with an oncoming truck nearly getting T-boned, but I think the 4 got away with that fairly scot-free. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, not bad. Oh, there was at least something you see with the motion. Definitely may have had a bit of a scrape there. We'll see just how close it got. He tried to gas it up to straighten it up, hit the door of the 18.
Oh, that is absolutely terrifying for both of those drivers. I don't know, maybe my perspective's a little bit off, but it doesn't even look like the 18 has a paint chip on that NASCAR truck. I would consider that a blessing. I think if the 18 ends up doing well in this race, they should probably buy a lottery ticket afterwards because they got a fantastic stroke of luck not getting T-boned in that crash with the 4.
Already having to come back from meatball flag of this race, mind you, as more damage repairs being taken by a lot of drivers. Some, in fact, taking tire sets for the first time. We ran our longest lap at a lap and a half there. So, your thoughts on drivers taking tires this early? We're at halfway, though.
I think that could be the good call, and I will say, looking at the trucks that are on pit lane, I feel like all of them have either been sideways or have ended up in some sort of incident, so their tires have probably been reduced just to atoms at this point, considering how much they've been sliding around. So maybe a good call for some of these drivers to come down pit lane. And plus, we are pretty much at the halfway mark, 12 laps in to this 25-lap race. So maybe it's a better time than ever to come down pit lane and get some tires on these trucks.
I mean, why not, I guess you could say, for those who don't have the track position. It's a bold call, though, for Cody Johnson in particular, who had been running as high as the top 3 for that period. So, again, to reset your field coming up to cross flags, Malik Gray, Jonathan Evans, Caleb Johnson, Dakota Long, Zach Novak, and Cole Pawkin. Then Valdez and Dominguez amongst those up front now too, as a result of the strategy calls. So, expecting lights out this upcoming time by here so far. What are your thoughts, Ron?
Well, I'll tell you what, considering in full transparency, folks, I'm usually more of a road course guy myself, so considering this is the first ever NASCAR Trucks broadcast I've done, this is very much trial by fire. We've seen a whole lot of drivers run into trouble so far, which is something that should be expected at the tricky triangle. But all these drivers hoping to try and get their heads screwed on a little bit tighter than they have thus far. We managed to go a lap and a half last time, and I think with the lights possibly going out on the pace car this time by, I'm keeping my eyes peeled. There we go. The lights are back out on that pace car, so we will be restarting it next time by. Maybe these drivers are finally, I wouldn't say getting their act together because that's a little bit rude to some of these drivers, but I think they're finally going to decide to not be as aggressive as they have been thus far. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that we can finally get into a groove in this race, but getting back to the question you asked me here, Justin, I think this has been incredibly entertaining thus far, it must be said. We've had a whole lot of stuff to talk about, and there hasn't really been a dull moment in the 13 laps we've completed thus far.
We'll see how this race now plays out with still a couple more turns before the restart here. Of note, Nick Rogers is officially out of the race, 5 laps down. Everyone else, at the very least, has maintained the lead lap. That's the interesting thing. Despite all these incidents, we only had one driver with significant damage pull out of the race.
I think that is an absolute blessing. That is a Christmas miracle, because that was a pretty significant whack that we had during that second caution flag. So really, all these drivers being able to stay, keep their race trucks within an acceptable range. You'd think with the incidents that we've had thus far, some would be ready for the scrapyard, but as you just pointed out, Justin, only one truck completely out of it tonight, and without fast repairs too. That's honestly quite impressive. These trucks are tough.
Should be very difficult this race here tonight. We'll see how things play out. So, Should be a fun restart, hopefully here. Malik Ray in control still. Evans still alongside in second. Rounding up the top four starting spots again, Caleb Johnson, Dakota Lawn. Halfway through the race, 12 laps to decide it. Green flag is out, back to racing. And a clean launch this time again for Ray, already single filed out. A lot more timid for the most part here.
They are walking on eggshells at this point, and I can't necessarily blame them. But right as I say that, the 7 trying to get a move done on the 3 truck. They're going to be door banging coming out of turn number 1. That's some bold stuff from these drivers. Once again, trying to make us out to be fools. That's a lot of drivers scampering around. That's contact a little bit farther in the back with the 23 and the 5.
Here we go again. Scott Sanders involved, Cody Johnson involved. And that strategy call did not work out at all for the 5.
That is an absolute disaster, and you can see the front end of that race truck. Disaster for the driver of the number 5. You can see that truck is beat and banged and roughed up to high heck. As you just said, Justin, tried to come in, tried to do a different strategy, but just got caught up in what was probably someone else's mess. Wrong place, wrong time, and sadly for the 5, that is going to be a race destroyer.
Enemy ball flag for Cody Johnson, a top 5 runner early. Here's why. Watch the 23 here.
Oh, the lightest of taps too. Oh, that's so unfortunate for the 5.
Better question is, how was the 23 down that low on the racetrack?
Well, I think there's a small little bump that sent him wildly out of control. These trucks are pretty unstable both in real life and in the sim, and you can just see all the cars scampering around. The 23 pretty much entirely out of control. Door bangs with the 5, and it just sends them both into that inside safer barrier. That was a substantial whack for both of those trucks. They're going to be taking a very long detour down pit lane. There could be no doubt about it.
At the very least, Cody Johnson is the one that'll have to take a detour. Scott Sanders did pick up some significant damage from that, but not a meatball flag. And so, that sets us up coming to 10 laps to go already in this one. And what has really built up in terms of attrition now, possibly up to 2 DNFs depending on what Cody Johnson can do on the damage. Remember, next time out for top split competition, it will be a short track race at IRP, also known as Lucas Oil Raceway. You'll be able to catch the coverage on Monday night for the top split action. Once again, that will be on the Monday night, the 15th, for the 8:15 p.m. start time. That is with what's going on with the charity racing coming up, in fact, on iRacing social media platforms this upcoming Wednesday. And that's going to be a difficult one, too, for the short track.
Oh, IRP, that is going to be tough. In real life, we saw a lot of drivers getting called out by the tough nature of IRP. In the sim as well, lots of frayed nerves as well, considering the short track. Short tracks, short tempers, that is a definite. So in 1 week's time at IRP, that is going to be, it's going to be a very unique challenge. Definitely different than the one we've had here. You got to deal with bumps, you got to deal with asphalt that's patchier than my face when I was 14. It's going to be a whole different batch of challenges for these drivers in the C Fixed Series, but I'm really going to be tuning in to see how they tackle that.
So that's going to be a challenge once again next week. So it'll be the Monday 8:15 p.m. slot. You'll see on the iRacing social media platforms to start the week. Who will be tested right from the get-go? We'll find out next week. Now, a shout out once again to the MS Charity Race coming up. That charity race coming up on July the 17th. Be sure to keep an eye on iRacing social media platforms for that race. For more information, go to iRacing social media platforms to learn how you can watch on for the charity event this year.
Really great cause as well, you know, raising money. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is, despite the fact that there's a lot of infighting in the world of sim racing, talking about tire models and damage models and all that stuff, it's really nice to see an event like that where iRacers just unite and try and raise money for a really good cause. So hopefully the viewers tuning in, whether it be on iRacing's Twitch channel, which has a whole lot of viewers right now, or whether it be here on Maconi Entertainment here on YouTube, you better tune in for that one, because that's going to be some good racing and some great racing for a very good cause as well.
So we're at 1 to go, and right now some of the drivers that might have a true shot to be able to pull off something impressive. Fuentes, from the first incidents of the race, is up to 7th. After having to come and get significant damage, they are still damaged, mind you, to the side door of their truck, and trying to hold on to 7th with this damage model is wild.
That is incredibly impressive. Cutting his way through the field, I'll tell you what, the field has been doing him a whole lot of favors, just seeing these incidents that have racked up as he's just tried to cut his way through the field like a hot knife through butter. It's helped him out quite a lot, and hey, we still have a decent amount of time left to go in this race. 17 laps into this 25-lap affair. We could see him snag his way into the top 5. I would not rule that out under any means at all, Justin.
We'll see what happens, as appears just a small technical blip for the one driver there. That's going to not help that recovery drive play out, but Blake Ray has led every lap so far in this race. Does that maintain to be the case here as we try and see how long this fares out the run? Everybody 8th on back has had to come into the pit lane at least once. Ray has gone through multiple tire cycles along with Evans, Caleb Johnson, Lawn, Novak, Dominguez, and Pocono. Can Blake Ray keep it up at the front? Very little difference on the tires with the caution flag so far. Green flag in hand, green flag taken. We're underway once again. And already a clean launch through for Ray to the single file again for the race lead, but battle is on for second. Lawn wants the spot, tries to reach out to Ray.
Oh, these drivers trying to cut it very close with their competitors. Some close side-by-side action all up and down the field. These drivers probably not yielding the advice we've given thus far to try and be a little bit careful and get this race into a groove as we approach the closing stages. All these drivers racing very, very hard, careening their way into turn 2.
Lawn just about clearing Evans. More contact, and around goes Fuentes. Caution flag is out. Also collected is Busser. And yet again, yellow flag is out.
I think we'll try and find a replay to see exactly what happened to him, but the point I was going to mention in reference to that incident, you can see that 9 truck blinking in and out of existence. Maybe that could have been the reason why that incident happened. Just seeing a truck like that, a race car of any kind when you're going side by side that's blinking in and out of existence like he's being abducted by a UFO, that's not ideal at all if you're behind the wheel of any of these race cars. So I have a feeling that that could have been the reason why that incident happened. Here's a replay.
Doesn't look like there was any technical blips in the corner, but there was definitely some contact out of it.
Ooh, oh, the faintest of contact, it looks like. Yeah, you can see maybe a little bit of netcode involved in there, it must be said, at least from the angle that I looked at. Maybe my microphone just obstructing my vision a little bit. That was a huge hit as well when the 9 got hit, and the 17 very lucky to avoid that incident. But it looked like there's some inches, there's a little bit of wiggle room separating those 2 trucks coming out of turn number 2. Did it look like that from your perspective as well, Justin?
Well, could have been some air, but didn't look like it, at least to me. They definitely touched at one point. It's pretty worth saying. Watch right about here, where right about there, just they were going to make contact regardless of what you can make the argument on. It's just after that, massive stack up.
We're going to see the hit as well. That second hit careening into the path of the 9. Man, that was a huge blow to both of those race trucks. And I gotta say, it's definitely a blessing that no other trucks were taken out in that incident. Considering it happened, that was inside the top 10. So the amount of cars that had to negotiate that chaos coming out of possibly the most challenging corner on this very challenging racetrack, the fact no other cars were taken out in that is truly unbelievable.
Really surprising to say the very least there, but we're looking at possibly 4 laps to go when we get back racing. Right now it's looking great if you're Malik Ray, but Dakota Lawn did steal away second there before the time of caution. It's going to be pretty big for the restart itself here tonight.
I think these drivers, they're getting a whole lot of experience just dealing with the chaos on the restarts because they've been dramatic thus far, even discounting the incidents that we've had. The amount of aggressive racing that we've seen from these drivers, they are clawing for every single position they can out here on the racetrack. The restarts, I gotta say, have been incredibly entertaining, and even that lap and a half run that we had a little bit earlier on, which is so far our longest this evening, that was still action-packed right up until the moment that the yellow flag came back at. This racing has been absolutely phenomenal, and I got a feeling that the fight for the win is going to be incredibly intense between all of these drivers. They don't really know how their trucks are driving at this point. They haven't gotten too much of an opportunity to really stretch their legs out. I mean, as you just said, it's looking very good for Ray. He has been leading it for a vast majority of tonight's race, and if the chaos that we've seen thus far continues, he is going to be in that catbird seat. But still, you can't really discount the likes of Long, Evans, and Johnson right behind. We don't really know how these race cars really drive once we get a little bit longer into a run. I feel like it's really tough to try and pick who is going to be the victor in this race tonight.
Time to go at the stripe. Lights coming out on top of the iRacing pace car right now as the field doubles up here. Again, it's Ray and Lawn, Evans and Johnson, Caleb Johnson, Novak and Pocono, Dominguez and Cronenwet, Olsen and Kyle Johnson. Your only DNF is still Nick Rogers. Cody Johnson remains on the lead lap with significant damage repairs every caution. Same for Jack Busser right now at the moment. So we'll see how this goes. So far, it's been great for Malik Ray off these restarts, but can anybody make the run here, Ron, to rip away the race win?
Oh, it's going to be real tough. He has mastered these restarts thus far, but maybe some of these drivers are learning his game. They've been around him for pretty much this entire race. They have seen what he's done on these restarts thus far, so unless he throws some sort of curveball at them, I feel like Ray may not be so safe heading into turn number 1, and considering the fact that we only have 4 laps coming to 3 laps left to go in this race, aggression is going to be cranked up even more than it's been so far in this race. And you can see Ray and Long were nearly making contact, banging doors under yellow going down into turn number 1. Hopefully they don't do that under yellow later on, otherwise one of those drivers may end up picking a $50,000 fine. But it's still gonna be tough for Ray to try and hold on to that spot. He is going to have a picture perfect final few laps of this race.
So 4 laps to go. We get to the stripe here. Still have anybody amongst the top 22 who can have a chance to get the win here. Malik Ray, once again, the control truck for this restart. iRacing pace car drops off this time by. Green flag is out. Great launch from Ray. Already clear yet again. And already Long getting blocky, trying to block off Evans. Now Evans goes for second. And now another block from Lawn as they go 5 wide in the back.
Oh no, 5 wide, beating and banging and roughing each other up. This is aggressive from all of these drivers, but they managed to go through it. No, as I say that, huge crash coming to F1.
Caution flag is out. Hard of the wall goes Sanders. And Rodrigo Dominguez gets to be bounced around the most out of that one. 5 wide down the straightaway.
These drivers not fear death? 5 wide. That is absolutely insane with less than 5 laps to go. After a race dominated by yellows, it continues once again. I'm not shocked at the incident, really, with them going 5 wide into turn number 1 and none of those drivers really backing out of it. I wasn't too shocked to see some cars spinning, but 5 wide heading into turn number 1. Oh my goodness.
Black flag for Buster from that incident, by the way. Let's take a look. Yeah, that wasn't going to work.
Not in a million years. Oh.
And straight into the 4.
Oh, and you can see the 21 get caught up in that as well. Really an innocent bystander with no room to run or hide at this track when an incident like that happens. Oh my goodness, there was not a hope in heck for any of those drivers heading into turn number 1 for them to make it out clean after 5 wide action. I still cannot wrap my head around that. Of all the broadcasts I've done here on iRacing, I don't think I have ever seen 5 wide action, not even in a Formula V race, which is usually absolutely insane and a total draft fest. 5 wide hang into turn number 1. Man, I'm still trying to wrap my head around all the stuff that's happened in this race. That is sticking out, though. 5 wide. Absolutely insane stuff from all of these drivers. But what it's done, Justin, is it's setting ourselves up for a grandstand finish, possibly going to a green-white checker.
Should get the trigger, in fact, this upcoming time by for the GWC with the time of the caution flag. So, remember, once we get to green-white checker territory, if we take the white, it's a race to the checker, simple as that. But after that point, well, we've seen some crazy things happen. But if we don't get to that point, we are finishing under yellow if we don't take, say, white flag. The green-white checker is officially triggered in session.
Oh boy, all these drivers have been so incredibly aggressive throughout this entire race, but the green-white checkered scenario, we've kind of thought like, okay, maybe this is a time that these drivers are going to be a bit more tame. Not going to happen. I don't think this is going to happen at all. A green-white checkered midway through the season as well. Some incredibly heavy hitters up towards the north end of the field. I have a feeling that this green-white checkered restart is probably going to be the most exciting and the most hectic that we've seen so far tonight.
And we're going to find out how the drivers play themselves here. Meatball flags under this caution include Sanders, Dominguez. They're still yet to be finished. Cabin Ruff is still yet to get repairs done. Voida is still doing the same amongst those down pit road. Cody Johnson still trying to pick off spots with the damage. So, how do you play this restart? Because Ray's played it perfectly each time.
Oh man, I would say prayer. Number 1, I would pray that you get a good restart and pray that you don't get caught up in anyone else's schmozzles, whether it be in turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, or going down the straightaways. There really hasn't been a spot on this racetrack that hasn't called out one driver so far tonight. It's going to be tough. I think you really, at this stage, strategy and theorizing of what to do in this race, taking a more strategic look as to how this race is going to end from your perspective as a driver, that gets thrown out the window at this stage. This race has been so unprecedented in terms of the really lack of green flag running. Maybe all these drivers feel confident in the way their cars are driving. Maybe none of them feel confident in the way their cars are driving. They haven't gotten a chance to stretch their legs out, but with the sun coming down, the lights have gone out on that pace car for what is going to be the final time. As you pointed out earlier, Justin, only one attempt at a green-white checker. It is make it or break it for these drivers. It's going to be make it or break it for Malik Ray to try and grab a win tonight. He's been dominant so far in this race and has been dominating these restarts. That is going to be huge as well, and you can see him actually running into the apron. I was about to talk about fuel. Fuel is not going to be a factor, I hope, in the finish of this race, but chaos will, carnage may. Maybe these drivers may try and up it a little bit and go 6 wide, hang it to turn number 1. I would not rule that out in the slightest, Justin. Whatever happens on this restart, it's going to be intense. That's all I can say.
It should be an intense restart. with it being the final time to take the green flag here tonight. Again, to reset the top 10 as it is. Ray and Lawn, Evans and Kale Johnson, Pocken, Gary Cronin-Wet has quietly moved up to 6th. Novak in 7th, Kyle Johnson 8th. Olsen and Jay McQueen has been able to bounce back to the top 10 from earlier incidents. As everyone tries to warm up their tires here. 20 drivers still on the lead lap. We'll see how this plays out now for the race win. Again, happy with this here on iRacing social media platforms and Maconi Entertainment tonight. Top split for the Maconi Fixed Series, coming down to a green-white checkered finish. Ray has led every single lap so far tonight. He's ready to be in control for the restart zone yet again. Oh, and a jump from the outside. Dakota Long jumped in and gave himself a black flag. Everyone bunched up 3 wide to the middle of the field.
Oh, Long really screwed himself there. Is he going to send it, hang it to turn number 1? He really has nothing to lose, but nothing to gain as well. The field scrambling right behind him. 3 wide for the lead.
Long for now to the point, but Evans officially is the leader. Ray now getting a push by him. Long still having to serve a black flag here or else facing disqualification. Ray now going to try and get the lead back on track. Coming to the tunnel turn. Lap and a half to go.
They've made it through clean so far. We'll just have to wait and see if they come to take the white flag this time by. All these cars have been going side by side pretty much this entire lap, and you can see at the front, Long and Ray still going side by side. Long stuck on the outside though, so I don't think he'll be able to cut down pit lane. He is going to pick up a black flag again after that black flag for the jump start. Long is not going to serve it. He is going to act as a pick in this fight.
White flag is out final time around here at Pocono. Ray trying to battle for the win with Caleb Johnson. They're side by side through 1. A door bang. Ray tries to move Johnson up the track. Draft for Johnson off the back end of Long's truck. Cronin went to the conversation. Pushing to the very back. Still side by side with the lead. Now Ray backs it up, trying to set it up for the final curve.
This is going to be a ballsy move if he goes for it. You can see them making contact, huge contact, and the 7 gets spun into the inside.
Here comes Cronin-Wet. Cronin-Wet tries to rip it away. Ray, high side, low side, Cronin-Wet coming to the checker flag. Cronin-Wet can't get there. Malik Ray will hold on and win it at Pocono.
Oh my god, what a finish. All these drivers keeping it clean. They were able to take the checkered flag under green, and Malik Ray comes out smelling like a rose. That small low incident between himself and the 7 heading out of turn number 2, that is going to be a game changer. Some drivers may not be very happy. You can see the 17 being and banging with the 2 on this cool down lap. That was a heart-pumping finish after a night that was so broken up with a lot of the stuff that we've had. Ray Malik ends up winning it in dramatic fashion. He's not even going to do some donuts. I don't think he wants to do some donuts after how chaotic this race was. I think he just needs to take a glass of water to try and calm himself down after that heart-pumping finish.
Next step aside, when we come back, post-race coverage. You're watching iRacing social media platforms and Maconi Entertainment from Pocono.
When you want to be the best, you can't settle for the rest. For anything on iRacing, there's just one name you need, Maconi.
With the launch of Maconi Entertainment and Maconi Competizone alongside Maconi Setup Shop, we now provide the best of the best in setups, paint schemes, coaching, broadcasting, and event organization.
With cars across all 4 license classes, we have what you need to hit the track with confidence. Grab a subscription and save money while going fast at MaconiSetupShop.com/subscriptions.
And remember, at Maconi Setup Shop, there are setups, but your victories.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Maconi Fixed Series here on iRacing social media platforms and Maconi Entertainment. Let's take a look at your official in-sim results coming up here after a wild finish. Blake Ray does get the win officially. Dakota Lawn moved to end of lead lap after jumping the final restart of the race. Gary Cronenwet finishes in second. Jonathan Evans in third spot. Kyle Johnson and Zach Novak your top five. Pocket, McQueen, Olsen, Redmond, and Maconi finish off in the top 10 for this one. Rest of your running order looks like this. Batista finished off in the 11th spot. He's going to be on your next page here with Dietrich, Ruff, Valdez, Small, the Johnsons of Cody and Caleb, Dakota Lawn, Jack Busser, the last of those running at the finish. 4 laps down is Dominguez. Then you have Rower in 21st, Sanders and Rogers, a part of the DNF list here tonight. That's what top to bottom at the running order here tonight. But on that note, I'd like to remind you the next time out, IRP is on the docket for this series. We'll go short track racing on Monday and see how things play out on iRacing social media platforms. Normally scheduled for the 17th, it will be on the 15th at an 8:15 p.m. start next week. On that note, it's time to thank the race sponsor Maconi Setup Shop as well for you guys for tuning in, the viewers. Coming the action tonight was myself, Justin Prince, alongside Ron Mons, with Christian Hill producing. Thanks to our viewers for watching tonight's action. We hope you stay tuned to our social media pages for our next race. Thanks to the entire staff for bringing this racing to you. This has been a production of Maconi Entertainment. We'll see you next time.